Hey, thanks for stopping by Duckman Cycles VW Garage. I'm your host, the Duckman. We're back today with my 1956 Volkswagen Beetle, also known as Eleanor. She's sitting right here behind me if you didn't already notice that. And she is a chop top because I did a massive amount of work rebuilding this car, and if you remember correctly, this car caved in on itself. You can actually look at the playlist, which is down in the video description to this video, and you can see just what Hurricane Ivan did to the car, plus 10 years of letting it sit outside and rust by the previous owner before I finally got around to it and decided to rebuild it. Just about every panel needed something. I mean, there was holes in just everything, and some panels needed to be replaced entirely. So I used whatever parts that I had from later model cars, because the earlier model cars are more expensive or harder to get. I haven't been able to find a whole lot of oval parts in the general area. And a lot of the parts I rebuilt using old appliances, washing machines and stoves in particular. So yeah, this car actually has a little bit of a Kenmore heart. What I need to work on today is I need to get the front trunk area here welded all back together. This is something that needs to be put back in here. Need to get that straightened out. I also need to get the apron finalized. I need to fill in the hole at the bottom here and get that finished. I also need to remove the brake reservoir, because if you remember, this front end was actually a clip from a 1969. So yeah, the brake reservoir needs to come out of there. Although, looking at it, it's kind of a good spot for putting like a little toolkit or something. Maybe I'll do something with that. And we'll see what I think up, or you know, what I can come up with there. I'll build something, I'm sure. But either way, that's going to go away, because that's one of the things that gives away that the front end is not original. One of the other things that gives away it's not original is that angled area right through here, because you notice the gas tank isn't quite level, it slopes forward, whereas in the earlier oval, this was much higher, and it actually planed off. And because of that, the gas tank was a little bit smaller, and it was less trunk area. But over the years, they dropped that area, made the gas tank more flat and larger, and increased the trunk space as a result. So I made that hybrid gas tank, if you remember, about a month or two ago, to put in here to make it look like it's an oval. I also took out the front bulkhead area here from the trunk, from the oval, and rebuilt it the best that I could to make it fit in here. And this thing was just full of holes. I mean, really full of holes. There was very little of it that actually comes from the original car. This piece here, these two pieces here, and the caps, as well as the VIN plates, are really the only thing that comes off of the original body. It does have the original body number stamped in there still. It's one of the things that I wanted to try to retain. The apron is actually a replacement in the front. It's an aftermarket one. The original apron was not only crushed in, but it was also rusted from about here down. So there was just so much of it missing, it wasn't worthy of saving. And as you know, 69 Beetle doesn't have a long swooping front hood like that, so I had to change out the apron anyway. So I put that on there, and I'm going to try to put this thing back together, see if we can get this front end done today. In addition, I also have to work on the rear end. Up underneath the deck lid, I almost forgot that there's a bunch of joints in here where I had Clecos in on the outside, and if you notice, it flexes a little bit when I move the deck lid. So I need to fill in those holes, get those welds taken care of, so that way this deck lid is solid like it's supposed to be. And I also need to weld in along here, this seam. I didn't get any welds on that at all, and that was part of the roof chop. Or in the case of this car, I actually built it up. So I really didn't chop the roof down, rather I built it up. I just didn't build the roof as high as before. But yeah, this car was all cut to pieces, and like I said, down below in the video description, you can actually see the playlist, and you can watch some of the older videos where I started out with and how this car was just, it was just collapsing. And it literally did collapse. It actually broke right in the middle. There were no heater channels, there was no floor, the tunnel was barely there, and the roof actually had a big rust hole on the other side right along here, and it caused it to start forming a crack. And when I unbolted the steering column from down below, where it attaches to the steering box, the nose went up in the air, and the doors as a result fell to the ground. And the roof kind of flattened out because that was the only thing that was still attaching the two halves together. Anyway, it broke. So I deliberately cut across that roof, and that's part of the cut that you see up there, so that way I could salvage as much of it as I could without, you know, screwing up the proportions of the roof. So yeah, that needed to be fixed. And as I put it back together, you can see some of the cuts inside here from all the different panels that got put together, all the different pieces that came together, and actually a lot of those welding joints have disappeared as I've ground them down and then covered them in phosphoric acid, so it's kind of hard to see where the seams are anymore. But it'll all be covered with headliner and carpet, so you'll never see any of that anyway. course, the dash is the original one from the 56. The dashboard actually was not in too bad of shape. Most of the damage that was on the dashboard was actually at the lip area with a windshield attached to it. But because this is a later model front end, I actually retained the windshield from the 69 and rebuilt it to the proportions of a 56. And here comes a noisy-ass garbage truck. So anyways, like, comment, subscribe, pluck that little dingle bell next to the subscribe button. And don't forget to check out the Facebook group page, Duckman Cycles VW Garage. Join us over there. There'll be a discussion of this project as well as anything else that anybody shares. It's got about 400 members on it now, and it grows every day. Garbage truck. So thanks, stick around, and we're going to see if we can get some welding done. Appreciate it. Alright, we're back. I figured I should get started in the back here since it's just much more accessible. The welder was already here and it's sticking out of the garage. So I've got a fan set up behind me because, as you know, if I haven't mentioned it before, I can't breathe in welding smoke at all. And that's one of the reasons why I don't worry about welding things like galvanized. It's because I blow the smoke away from me. If I get hit with even a little bit of smoke, I gotta stop because it makes me sick like almost instantly. So anyways, we're gonna start welding over here. We're gonna run down the side and we're gonna fill in all them little dots up underneath the deck lid, and we're also going to hit the other side too. So anyways, we'll be back in just a minute and I'll give you an update. Thanks for watching. Okay, those lines went in pretty quickly, and then up in here, got a really dirty lens. See if we can clean that up a little bit. There we go, that helps some. And then up in here, I took care of those welds, and it was just a bunch of holes where I had drilled out the old welds, the old spot welds that were there from factory. The reason why is because there's 3 different pieces, 3 different cars. The upper portion of the rear firewall with the gutter here is from one car. The inside louvers, and people don't really realize this is actually a separate set of louvers underneath here, that came from a 69 Beetle, and then this, of course, came from the Oval. And I'm really happy that this was in good shape. Yeah, there actually was no rust through on any of the louvers at all. And in fact, around the window, you see the edge is a little jaggy. But that's the only real rust that there was around this, so that actually turned out pretty good. But the 69 louvers that are inside of there don't belong there. The ones on an Oval look very different, but it's in a place that you really can't see it, so I'm not too concerned about what it's going to wind up looking like. Probably nobody's even going to notice. They didn't notice the last car show. You know, as I said, the whole goal with this car was to make people think that it was a 1956, and if they have any questions about it, then you know, it was a custom 1956. It was the Sport Edition 1956. You know, they weren't all built like this. This was a very unique, limited release. Perhaps I could say something like, you know, only to the northeast of America. Yeah, this was the New Jersey edition. That's where I'm from. That's cute, but, you know, funny. Anyway, we're going to stay on it. This looks pretty good here in the back. Since the sun is now going that way, towards me, it's going to cast a bigger shadow in the front yard, and that means I can work better up front here. So I'm going to have to remove this front apron and get this all welded in here and get that completed. And then I once again become a grinding fool and grind down all the welds so they're nice and flat. So that way they need very, very minimal body fill. Very minimal body fill, like the weld in here. That one, I almost don't even feel it. That one was just perfect. Oh, I gotta hit that spot yet, where I had a little bit of burn through with the welder. When I was sanding, it just fell off. That was good. Looking good, looking good. This car gets more and more solid every time that I start messing with something. And that's one of the things that I noticed when I got all this welded in here. Pushing down on the deck lid hinges, these things are stiff now. Before they had a lot of flex in them, a lot of flex. But now it's all solid. And all those welds that I put back are actually in the stock locations. That's where they pinched them together and put the spot welds on. So yeah, everything actually is back to factory spec in that area. Alright, gotta get back on it here and see what else we turn up with before it gets too late. Okay, we're gonna hit the front area up here with my wonderful air chisel. The current apron is only held in by about 6 welds. There's 2 in the top here and 1 on the bottom. And that was only temporary, once again, just to get it to the Volkswagen show last October. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to knock them welds out of there and pull that apron off, and then we're going to start welding in the bulkhead behind it. You know, that whole gray area that's back there, it needs to go in. Alright, we're back. I think I've got those welds knocked out of there. The apron comes right out. There it is. Now we can get a good look at what needs to be welded in here. I should be able to get the welding torch in and all the angles necessary to get up under here. So I have to run all the way around the perimeter of this thing, up this side, around this way, around top of here. And then this, you know, I could actually put my 220 spot welder on it and just pinch it in a bunch of places and do it like the factory did. That's actually not such a bad idea. You get the drift. Also need to weld in right here. Looks like we got a split and one here. And in fact, a little bit up in there too that needs to be welded in. Okay, well, let me grab the welder. I'll start hitting this thing and getting this thing put in. And this is good. I spent a lot of time making this stuff fit right last summer. I put a lot of time into that, and when I got to the car show, I just held it in with some magnets, and you know, people thought it was all whole. Had them fooled. Alright, let's go ahead and weld that sucker in there. Okay, I gotta say that turned out pretty good. Pretty good. It's gonna need a little bit of grinding, of course. I mean, that's pretty standard when you weld sheet metal, butt welded. Just gonna have to come along there and I'll just hit it with the grinder gently and then file it flat. I might even be able to just hit it with the file directly. And I want to do that, of course, before I put on the front apron, otherwise I won't be able to get the tool in there quite so easily. Well, yeah, I think that's good. It's nice seeing this in one piece because this thing has actually been rolling around for about 1.5 years. It was actually sitting on the kitchen table wrapped up in a blanket there for quite a while just to prevent it from rusting. I'm going to go ahead and hit it with some compressed air and blow out all the dust that's in here and the welding debris and whatever else that's laying in there, and just get a better look at it one more time. I might even give it a wipe down with a wet rag, but yeah, it's looking pretty good. I welded all the way around the perimeter, everywhere except for up in here. Like I said, I'll probably just put a couple of spot welds through there. This side is good. There's the vent hose for the fuel tank, which of course is a late model front end. Normally the 56 Beetle wouldn't have that. Damn it, I keep hitting my head on the damn trunk. Friggin' hood. Bastard. This thing also needs to be reattached. The funny thing about the Made in Germany label is actually it's crooked. And it came that way from factory, so I don't think I'm going to fix that. I think I'm just going to leave it crooked because that's how it came, OEM. Yeah, it's actually crooked. The top one, of course, is crooked just because it's not on there right, but the bottom one is actually way off center and slightly crooked. It's actually a little bit high even. I think it should be just a hair lower than it is. Made in Western Germany. Alright. Well, that's good. It's one piece. Every time somebody sees this, they're like, "The speakers go here?" And no, you don't put speakers in your friggin' trunk. I mean, a subwoofer or something maybe, but not little, you know, 4.4. Actually, probably a 5-inch speaker. Let's see. Yep, 5-inch speaker. Alright, we're going to keep on kicking away at this and see how much further we get along before it starts to get dark. And I've got another movie to go to tonight. By the time that you see this video, I will have already seen it, but alright. Continuing. Alright, ran the grinder around in here and knocked down all the high spots. We now have one good solid piece. That looks good. I think that's pretty well established in there, and apron is not attached. I just stuck it on there for the moment. I'm going to close the hood on it and push the car back in the garage in just a little bit. I'm starting to lose a little bit of daylight now. Before I shut everything down, we're going to hit some grinding in the back. Yeah, alright, we're going to come back here and hit these high spots, knock them down. Same thing on the other side. This side was a lot more blobby than that was, even though I had the same weld settings. Everything was polished down to bare metal, and it still ended up all gloppy. So I would say that was probably my fault, not to blame the welder. Well, rather, I am the welder. Yeah, so there you go. We're blaming the welder. I'm going to knock those down with the grinder, and then we're going to call it a night. Alright, I better put this into low light mode. Low light on. Boom, there we go. Okay, I finished up my grinding along here, and it turned out pretty good. I'm going to have to remove the fender to hit this side here. Same thing over on the other side. I got to get up in here a little bit, so I'm going to have to remove that fender. Not a big deal, it's just one of those things extra I have to do. So I got to pull a bolt or two out of it and spread it out 2x4 down in there and get the finished grinding that's on there. This is pretty good. There's not a whole lot of filler is going to be required on this. Just a quick skim and then a quick scan just to make sure it's absolutely flat. And then of course we got everything done up here today. There was no grinding up there that had to be done because you're just not going to see it anyway. So I can just phosphoric acid that one and then just seal it up. So that's good. That's good. Well, since when I did the roof chop, I cut way down into here, and then what that did is it lowered the entire engine compartment a couple inches. So I'm hoping that the doghouse shroud that's on the top of my engine is actually going to fit in here. I don't know yet, I really don't, but we're probably going to be finding out this week. So anyways, you're going to want to stay tuned on that one, which means you got to like, comment, and subscribe. You want to pluck that little dingle belly down there next to the subscribe button. That way you get updates every time I upload a new video, including the video where I put the engine in this car. That's coming up real soon. Really soon. I mean, really soon. My plan is to have this thing running and driving for the show. Doesn't mean I'm going to drive it to the show. I'm going to try to get it running for the show. That way I can drive it around the fairgrounds. Anyways, thanks so much for watching, you guys. I really appreciate it. Check out Duckman Cycles VW Garage on the Facebook. Don't forget to subscribe to my other channels, VV the Duck VV and Skeeter the Duck. And until next time, enjoy yourselves. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.